Welcome to Profiles on Lake Sumter Television. I'm Mark Roberts. We're on location this month at Bloom's on Main Street in downtown Leesburg, and joining me is Freddy Williams, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Lake and Sumter County. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
I'm just going to dive right in because you actually have a history with the Boys and Girls Club. Take us back to when you were a kid in the role.
Very much so. Go way back with Boys and Girls Clubs. Started off as a club kid in middle school. Came from a two-parent working household. Needed a safe place to go after school. Really enjoyed the club. It's so much more than just a place to go after school. And in fact, while I was in high school, I was offered a job opportunity to serve as a junior staff and had the glorious job of cleaning up in the locker rooms. And at that point, I learned a lot of work ethic and what it meant to give back and work hard for everything you have.
Now, you used the phrase, you needed a safe place to be after school. Were your parents protecting you from your environment or from yourself? What was the safe part of that?
I think a little bit of both. I grew up in Panama City, and in Panama City, there's a lot of negative temptations, especially for teenagers. Being one of the spring break capitals of the world. I played sports, but when sports seasons were over with, I needed to go to a place I can have constructive time rather than going home after school by myself.
How at risk would you say you were if the Boys and Girls Club was not there as a resource for you?
Well, I can tell you this, I have friends that did not go to the Boys and Girls Clubs, and they're still struggling today. In fact, I tease with some of my best friends I have now that did go to the Boys and Girls Club. They will attest that it had such a profound impact on their life as it did for myself.
So when you look at sort of that history, was there a moment in time where you said to yourself, I want this to be part of my future, I want to be affiliated with the Boys and Girls Club, or did it just sort of fall into your lap?
It kind of fell into my lap. I'll never forget, I had a program director at the Boys Club in Panama City, and I never could figure out why he was so difficult on me. And it just seemed like he would never cut me a break. I'd come in, he said that I couldn't play basketball until I finished my homework. I finished my homework, he'd recheck it, have teachers go over it, show my work. And finally I said, why are you giving me such a hard time? He said, well, I expect more out of you because I think more of you. And you're going to go someplace in life. And
have you used that line with others?
I have used it with some of our kids. Yes, I have. But actually went to college. I was on the debate team and was in the civics courses at the Boys and Girls Clubs in Panama City in high school, and developed a true love for government and just loved the political process. I loved debate. I loved everything around it. I went on a field trip to the Capitol when I was in high school, and just being able to walk the halls in the Capitol and just seeing the deals that were going on was very intriguing. I would never forget in high school, the program director said that we had to cut back on some of our snacks that we had after school because of funding. And I said, well, what about funding? And they explained how there were cuts at the state and they had to cut back inside the Boys and Girls Clubs. So from that point, I said I wanted to try to do something to help bring money in for Boys and Girls Clubs. So went to UF and studied political science and economics with the hopes of becoming a lobbyist to try to bring resources to Boys and Girls Clubs, not necessarily just youth-serving organizations in general. Graduated from college, became a political campaign strategist and consultant, and during the downtime I was very active with the Boys and Girls Clubs as a volunteer in college, and after college joined as a volunteer fundraiser on the unit board in Gainesville, and was asked during the downtime of a political season to consider maybe fixing some programs. I said I didn't want to do it as a staff member. I would love to continue to do it as a volunteer, but they really wanted to try to take some of the expertise in terms of develop strategy, being able to put things in place.
Was Lake and Sumter one of those that was on the radar at the time?
Not at the time.
So how did you wind up here?
Joined the staff in Gainesville. I worked there as an area director for 4 years. And I'll never forget, at the time, I had an opportunity to go to Harvard Law School. And so working at Boys and Girls Clubs was short term. The thought was my wife was at UF Law at the time. I was going to go to Harvard Law when she graduated and maybe become a lobbyist. So I put the board on notice in Gainesville that August of 2012, I'm leaving Boys and Girls Clubs. I'll give you everything I have in the meantime. Well, August 2012 rolled around, and the clubs in Lake and Sumter counties said that they had an opportunity. It was a little intriguing, and at the same time, a job opportunity opened up with a law firm for my wife in the Villages. And we looked a little more into it and found that it was a perfect opportunity for both of us. And from that point, I said, this is what I want to dedicate my career to do. And
so for those that aren't familiar, we've been using the phrase the Boys and Girls Club throughout the first few minutes of this conversation. Yes. For those that aren't familiar, give us sort of the general overview. What is the Boys and Girls Club? What are the programs they offer, and who is it really intended for?
Okay. Well, the Boys and Girls Club is a youth development organization. We serve kids from 6 years old to 18 years old every day while school's out during holiday breaks. We're open every day until 6 p.m. And when school's out, we're open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Every day we have programs in 5 different areas. The first is education and career development. We want all of our kids to progress to the next grade level, graduate from high school with a plan for the future, but also being career oriented, knowing what they want to do after that. The second is healthy life skills. We want kids to engage in pro-social activities, ensuring that they're abstaining from risky sexual behavior, drugs and alcohol abuse. Next is character and leadership development. We want to make sure that our kids become productive members of society and engage in democratic process, give back to the community. The next is arts. We want to make sure that we can embrace their creativity. And finally, sports and recreation. So within those 5 different program areas, we know that that helps develop a child. Our programs have been around since 1860. These programs work.
Geographically, where are the units located here in the Lake and Sumter County areas?
We have 6 Boys and Girls Clubs in Lake County. We have 2 in Leesburg, 1 in Eustis, 1 in Umatilla, 1 in Lady Lake, and 1 in Claremont. And we have 2 outreach locations in Sumter County, one at Bushnell Elementary and the other at Wildwood Elementary.
How do you gauge your success? How do you gauge whether you've achieved those things or not?
Well, I guess with my background in politics, I want to make sure that we have an end in mind and that we're very specific at what the tasks are that we're doing. So we're very outcome driven and making sure that the programs that we do aren't just throwing a ball inside a gym and letting kids have a good time. We call it bait and switch. We let kids have fun, but then we make sure that they understand that there was a learning outcome out of that. And within those learning outcomes, we evaluate our different programs to ensure that they're very specific and measurable outcomes that come from that. The first is academic success. We have a keen interest in academic success outcomes. The next is character and citizenship outcomes. And the next is health and life skill outcomes.
I've heard you talk about 0 pregnancy rate.
Yes, sir.
I've heard you talk about staying in school.
Yes.
Give us a sort of a handle on what those were.
Okay, well, we knew that from an anecdotal standpoint that we were doing things well here in Lake and Sumter counties, but we wanted to know what pathway we were getting there. So first is we're making sure that kids develop an intrinsic value for education. We knew early on that if children developed an affinity for reading early on, that then they would develop the tools needed so that they could learn to love to read. So in middle school and high school, knowing that they then read to learn. And by taking that concept, we want to see how effective our programs were specifically for kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, knowing that there were research that showed that those were tremendous indicators of high school graduation rates. So we went through an evaluation process and found that 85% of our kids read at or above grade level. And when you compare that locally in the state of Florida, their peers of our Boys and Girls Club members, less than 31% of them read at or above grade level. So that translates to kids that attend Boys and Girls Clubs nearly being 2.5 times more likely to read at or above grade level, which is preparing them for middle school, preparing them for high school, so they don't feel as if they're disengaged in high school, which in turn makes sure that they understand that they will have a plan for the future, they will graduate from high school, and they're abstaining from risky sexual behavior and not getting arrested.
So in addition to your own metrics, have there been any kind of third-party evaluations that have been done to sort of quantify your success?
Yes, in fact, Boys and Girls Clubs collectively through the state of Florida went through a 5-year evaluation process through Florida Tax Watch. And what Florida Tax Watch did is they took a sampling size of all Boys and Girls Club members that attended through the state of Florida, and we found that there were some tremendous economic savings to the state of Florida, specifically for taxpayers. In fact, for every child that progressed to the next grade level that attended a Boys and Girls Club, there's a tax savings over $9,000 a year. And for every 100 kids that we helped graduate from high school, there's an aggregate of over $29 million for every 100 children.
Now, how many kids do you serve at any given time? Is it during the school year? What's your window of time, and how many kids do you serve during that period?
Well, after school, we serve about 400 children. And during the summer, we serve about 900 children. We have something that we call an average daily attendance. So at any given time, we know how many children are inside our clubs and what those averages are. Collectively through both counties, last year we provided services to nearly 3,000 children.
And what's the trigger to get a child into the Boys and Girls Club? Is it the parents? Is it the educators? Is it truant officers? I don't even know if they have truant officers anymore. What's the trigger to say, we want you to go check this out?
Well, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the Boys and Girls Club symbol, when you look at the clasping hands, that's the boy connected to the club and the club connected to the community. So we very much see ourselves working with truancy officers, the court systems, school administrators that provide referrals into Boys and Girls Clubs. In addition, parents will see that they need a safe place for the kids to go. And then we also serve as that second family for the kids to advocate for them in the school to ensure they're turning in their homework and they're doing everything they need to be successful.
And that's a great place for us to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Freddy Williams, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Lake and Sumter Counties, about the role that the community plays in their organization. You're watching Profiles on LSTV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Profiles on Lake Sumter TV. I'm Mark Roberts. Before the break, we were talking with Freddy Williams, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Lake and Sumter Counties, and we were talking really about the role that you play in the community. But the community is actually a really strong advocate of your organization. Let's talk a little bit about that. You've got a board that's made up of a lot of community leaders. Explain that to us.
Well, we are a true community-based organization. We're not quasi-government. We don't receive subsidies that help fund us. We exist because of the community. The JC's Club of 1973 decided they want to have a boys club here locally. So they started a steering committee and said, what can we do to have a safe place for kids to go after school? And that group of volunteer fundraisers and volunteer board members still to this day are very active and involved.
Well, and I've heard you talk about that, and quite frankly, if you follow the Boys and Girls Club on Facebook, you see the photos. This is not just a board that just sits around in meetings. This is an active board that's out there and working their relationships in the community as well. And I think it's because of the passion they have for what you guys do. Would you agree with that?
Yes, very much so. We have a very active board of directors, actually 25 volunteer board members. Some people get confused and they think that how active our board are, that they actually are employees of Boys and Girls Clubs, which I think is a testament to their hard work. They are the backbone, they are the lifeblood of our organization. They ensure that we have the necessary resources to fund our Boys and Girls Clubs, provide excellent oversight. They're very diverse in their skill sets and acumen that they bring to the organization. In fact, a lot of people don't know this, but in 2014, they were named Board Team of the Year by Boys and Girls Clubs of America because of the high functioning that they have and how impactful they are in the community.
And was that the same year that you were named Rookie of the Year?
Yes, same year that I was named Rookie of the Year.
And what did that mean, Rookie of what?
Rookie of the Year, they name it for a new executive in the Boys and Girls Club movement. So I worked on the program side with the Boys and Girls Clubs in Gainesville and moved into an executive role when I moved here in Lake and Sumter counties. And because of the impact that we were able to make in the community, they named me Rookie of the Year. I say we because it wasn't just me. It was a phenomenal staff that we have, caring parents, and a very hardworking board of directors.
Right, but the trophy's in your office. Let's just be straight about that. If I'm not mistaken, your signature fundraising event, the Black and White Ball, that was also recognized at the national level also, wasn't it?
Yes, it was recognized at the national level. It was for rebranding it. J. Scott Berry, who is our events chair, did a phenomenal job of rebranding our signature event. And Boys and Girls Clubs America recognized that because of the details that he does in making sure that it's successful, but also because of the revenue that it brings in. And going back to the board being so committed to ensuring that the revenue isn't being used just to pay salaries or pay for frivolous thing. It goes directly to our kids and making sure we get more kids in the club so we can serve them with greater impact.
In addition to fundraising, how else is the Boys and Girls Club funded? Are there taxpayer dollars involved? Where do you get your money from?
We receive some funding through the state level. It's for prevention programs because the state of Florida recognizes that it's much greater savings on the state to invest early on than in reactive work later on in the child's life. We receive some dollars from local government, the city of Umatilla, city of Umatilla, and city of Leesburg and Lake County all provide financial assistance. A great partnership with the city of Claremont, who provides some in-kind services for our wonderful facility we have down there. We also receive a small designation through Washington, through federal dollars, but collectively all those government dollars account for about 30% of our entire annual revenue.
And the United Way serves as a supporter of your efforts as well.
Yes, the United Way is a great supporter of the Boys and Girls Clubs. In fact, we recently moved our administrative offices right next door to them. One of their focus areas is education. One of our focus areas is academic success. And what better way than to bring two outstanding charities together to try to fight and create a better education here locally. One thing I would like to say is Forbes magazine recognized Boys and Girls Clubs of America and United Way Worldwide as one of 5 all-star charities. So here it is, you have 2 charities at Forbes magazines that made the top 5 lists that are working together here locally. And we're ready to roll up our sleeves and have some true impact in the community.
What does the profile child look like for our community that participates in the Boys and Girls Club?
Well, kids come from all walks of life. And when you look at the mission of the Boys and Girls Club is to enable and inspire all youth, especially those who need us most. And those who need us most can come in all walks of form. Whether it be a parent who needs to work a second job, go back to school, somebody that you see as a traditional receiving government assistance, or though it could be somebody that says, hey, you know what, my kid needs to learn leadership skills and what it means to give back to the community and take our proven research programs. So our profile is all across the board. Statistically speaking, we found that 89% of those children are on free or reduced lunch, but that is no indication of how their future success.
And you're probably a good example of that.
Yes, very much so.
The biggest misconceptions that you think people have, or the things that people misunderstand the most about the Boys and Girls Club, clear them up for me.
Well, a lot of people think that we're just cheap daycare. We are so much more than that. We are a youth development organization. We have research, peer-reviewed programs. We've been around collectively since 1860. They're not pie in the sky of what we're doing after school. And a lot of that comes because we don't spend money on trying to get our message out there. Our best word of mouth for the last 150 years have just been the teachers that are in the schools, the courts that want to refer kids to us, and the parents that have their children that have had impact in our community. And
have you excused children for not adhering to the guidelines of the program?
One thing that makes Boys and Girls Club remarkable is that we don't turn a child away. There's no code of character tests to get inside Boys and Girls Clubs. If a child has bad grades, they can't come to Boys and Girls Club. We accept children no matter which way they come into our clubs.
But is there a breaking point once they're in the program where you might say, this is not the right environment for you?
If we do find that there's a child, whether there are severe mental health issues that may need greater assistance, and we have great partners in the community that we worked hand in hand with, but we don't give up on the kids then. We do have outreach at that point where we have these supportive relationships with our staff that then see our kids through whatever program that we may refer out to some of our partners in the community.
And what role do the parents play in the process? I mean, you said you're not a drop-off daycare center, so that tells me that the parents have a certain responsibility to play an active role in what you guys are trying to achieve.
Yes, parents are very, very active with Boys and Girls Clubs. They pick up their child every single day after school. For safety reasons, we find that critical, but also because we can take the time to say, hey, you know what, we noticed that his grades are slipping in math. Or we had an opportunity to talk to the guidance counselor. They couldn't reach you because you weren't on break. And we're able to have that conversation to make sure we're that advocate for the children inside our clubs. In addition to that, children that attend our clubs free of charge, we also ask that the parents volunteer within our Boys and Girls Clubs too. So they're helping at any given time with homework assistance or different projects. Very much so.
Skin in the game.
Very much so.
What would you say are some of the biggest challenges facing the Boys and Girls Club, especially here locally?
Here locally, we need more people to support our clubs. Boys and Girls Clubs have been here locally in Leesburg for the longest, but we have clubs throughout the entire community, and it's truly going to take the community to come together to make a meaningful impact here.
What kind of support are you talking about?
We in-kind support, financial support, advocacy, you name it. Anything.
Volunteers?
Volunteers. We're always looking for volunteers. Every day after school, we help kids with their homework, so we're always looking for people that can come in to provide assistance with that.
And how do they contact you to learn about those opportunities?
Well, if they can give me a call at 352-787-5258 or visit our website, www.bgclsc.org, we'd be more than happy to find a way that we can get those engaged.
As we start to wind down, has there been an occasion that you can think about where you went home at the end of the day and just sort of that light bulb went off and you said, this is why I'm doing this. This was the kid's life that I touched, or this was the whatever. There has to be those moments.
You know, it's funny you say that. I knew I chose the right career because every single day I go home, and you can ask my wife, I jump out of the bed in the morning time, fired up, ready to go to work, because if I can make an impact in a child's life the same way the Boys and Girls Club had an impact in my life, then I'm doing something okay. And we have the ability to do that, and I make it to the clubs very often, and I stay engaged with them, and I could see the progress. They want to show me the report cards or challenges they've overcome, and it's very touching.
You've been involved in the Boys and Girls Club long enough, even back to your volunteer days, where there's probably kids that are old enough now that I would assume you stay in touch with. You've seen how their life has developed.
Yes, I have kids that have gone on that are now doctors, lawyers, account executives, former gang members that are now productive members of society, and it's so humbling to see that the Boys and Girls Club could have an impact in their lives.
Do you see yourself as a role model?
Very much so. I think it's very important. A lot of club kids see me as a club kid, and I want them to understand that that the Boys and Girls Club can have an impact on your life if you realize that you work hard at what you have, put God first, work hard in school, and then always pay it forward whenever you make it. And that's what the Boys and Girls Club will teach you, and you can be another Freddy Williams.
Your signature events coming up. Give us some quick information on that.
August 22nd at Mission Inn is our black and white ball. For ticket information, please give our office a call, 352-787-5258. We have very limited sponsorship opportunities because
and it usually sells out too.
Yeah, it always sells out. It's sold out since under J. Scott Berry's leadership.
So if you want to hang out with the cool kids, get in on your tickets now is really what you're saying.
They need to get in early.
Excellent.
Yes.
Freddy Williams has been joining us. We're here at Blooms on Main Street in downtown Leesburg. We've been talking about the Boys and Girls Club here at Lake and Sumter counties. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching Profiles on Lake Sumter TV. We'll see you again next month.
For more information on the Boys and Girls Club of Lake and Sumter counties or the Black and White Ball, check out their website, BGCLSC.org. And we'd like to send our best wishes and warmest congratulations to Melissa and Freddy Williams, who gave birth to a baby girl just days after the taping of this episode. A happy and healthy Leighton Beth Williams joined their family on June 9th, weighing in at 7 pounds, 4 ounces, measuring 20.9 inches long. Wishing you both the best of luck with your new little princess. And finally, a special thanks to the good folks at Bloom's Baking House and Restaurant in historic downtown Leesburg for allowing us to shoot our interview at their restaurant.